the meeting to order. I want to let you know that we do have two formats for participation in today's meeting. We have the Zoom web application as well as teleconference. So please silence your other communication devices such as your cell or desk phone so that there are no disruptions during this meeting. During the meeting, all participants on Zoom, except for board members and South Coast AQMD staff, will be placed on mute by the host. That means that you will not be able to mute or unmute your lines manually. After each agenda item, the chair will announce public comment. Regarding Zoom video instructions, for those of you on Zoom, if you'd like to make a public comment on the Zoom screen, please click on the raise hand button. This will signal to the host that you would like to provide public comment and you will be added to the list. If you are using Zoom on your smartphone, please tap the raise hand button on the bottom of the screen. For those of you that are calling in on a phone line, you can dial *9 on your keypad to signal that you would like to comment. Your name will be added when it is your turn to comment and the host will unmute your line automatically. Please note, you can hang up or leave the Zoom meeting at any time. Legal disclaimer is to let you know that this meeting is being recorded by the South Coast AQMD. This audio and visual recording may be used later by the South Coast AQMD and posted for public use. By continuing in this meeting, you are consenting to being recorded and to subsequent use of the recording. Decorum, we ask that everyone please adhere to the speaker time limit and treat others with courtesy, civility, and respect. Rules prohibiting the use of signs or posters remain in effect for video participation. Profanity, discriminatory comments, or obscene gestures is prohibited. Disorderly, unruly, or aggressive behavior that infringes upon the rights of others or disrupts the good working order of the meeting is also prohibited. Any violation of the above rules can result in your mic being muted, your video feed shut off, or you will be dropped from the phone or Zoom meeting lines. With the housekeeping rules read, I'm just going to go ahead and take roll. So when I call your name, if you could please let me know if you are here. Pamela Atcity. Ada Berseño.
I'm here.
Thank you. Italia Garcia.
Here.
Valerie Gonzalez.
Here.
Oh, thank you, Valerie. Lisa Hart.
Here.
Todd Heibel. Eddie Marquez.
Here.
Thank you. Teresa Martinez. Lachey Rodriguez. Oscar Rodriguez.
Here.
Nicole Starks Murray.
Here.
Thank you. Sienna Thomas.
I'm here.
Thank you, Sienna. Andrea Torado Mazas.
Here.
Rebecca Zaragoza.
Here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Sienna, wherever you're at, obviously it's not raining yet because you're outside, but it's raining over here. So hopefully you don't get too much of it.
No, we're waiting for it though. It's long overdue.
Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on our first Environmental Justice Community Partnership meeting for the year. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Derek Alatorre. I'm the Deputy Executive Officer for Legislative Public Affairs and Media, which this group is under my department. Call the meeting to order. And any opening remarks? I don't have any opening remarks. So we'll go to agenda item number 2, and that is action items from the December 2020 meeting. The first one is that South Coast would provide a link to the Federal Register to the advisory council members, and staff shared that on January 7th. The next one is South Coast staff will coordinate a presentation on Air Quality Management Plan, AQMP for short, at the next meeting. And I believe Zoric is the one giving that presentation this morning or this afternoon. And then the last item, the third action item was South Coast staff to coordinate a presentation or an update of the Replace Your Ride program. So staff will be presenting it in the future, but I'll just tell you right now, we're trying to get additional monies from ARB because we are oversubscribed for the Replace Your Ride program right now. We get money every year. So many people have already participated that we gotta wait till the next allocation. But as soon as, I guess at the next meeting or maybe the meeting after that, we'll have an update and give you the presentation on the Replace Your Ride program. And then lastly, Alicia was to follow up with Todd regarding informational webinar for college students on South Coast AQMD and environmental justice issues. And Alicia met with Todd last month on that. With that, we'll go to item number 3, approval of the minutes from the December 2020 meeting. Are there any comments or edits to those minutes?
I see Lisa's hand raised.
Lisa?
Thank you. Is everybody hearing Spanish and English at the same time?
No.
I can hear the Spanish a little bit.
I can't really hear you guys because the Spanish is about the same almost the same volume. Is there a way to, usually there's a way to choose the channel that you want to listen with, and I'm sorry, I just don't have the
Paul, can you walk
brain
through that, how
for
to do
both
that?
languages at the same time.
Well, we didn't turn on the interpretation or invited any Spanish interpreter for this meeting that I know of.
Is it something in your background? Another window?
Or maybe it's just me. Is it just me?
It might be another window.
Yeah, are you
Okay.
listening to City Council?
I thought it was off, but I was. It might
Yeah.
be that.
It's probably still
Yeah.
open on your desktop.
Okay, my apologies. I apologize. I didn't realize it's probably me. Thank you very much. I will turn that off and then I'll be a much happier.
No worries.
Okay. Any other, yeah, I think I still hear it on Lisa. There you go. Any other edits or comments on minutes? If not, can I get a motion from someone and a second?
I'll motion to approve.
Oscar made the motion.
Second.
Ada seconded. You want to do a roll call, Julie?
Yes. One moment. Okay. Pamela App City. Ada Briseño.
Yes.
Natalia Garcia.
Yes.
Valerie Gonzalez.
Yes.
Lisa Hart. Lisa Hart.
Kind of logged off.
Okay. Todd Heibel.
Yes, present.
Okay. Thank you, Todd. Eddie Marquez.
Aye.
Teresa Martinez.
Present.
Teresa, we're taking the vote on the minutes if you approve.
Yes.
Thank you. Michelle Rodriguez.
Aye.
Oscar Rodriguez. Nicole Sparks Marie.
Aye.
Thank you. Sienna Thomas,
Yes.
Paula Andrea Torado Plazas.
Aye.
Rebecca Saragosa,
Yes.
Lisa Hart. You know, I see her that I need to bring her back in. A moment.
Sorry, are we voting on minutes?
Yes. We're on you. Do you approve of the minutes? There was a first and a
I
second.
do. I do,
Okay.
sorry.
No problem, Lisa. The motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. We'll go to item number 4, and that's Alicia's.
So good afternoon, everyone. I will quickly go over the accomplishments that were sent to you all. Just wanted to note that some of the key accomplishments in 2020 included continued EJCP program input, which will continue today. Different advice on community efforts and presentations from community members, updates on the Clean Air Program for elementary school students, the interagency task force meetings, including the Environmental Justice Conference, and other presentations from staff, such as complaint reporting process and investigation, the 2020 federal legislative update, and a 2020 state update. So those are a few of the accomplishments. Does anyone have any comments? This is not an item with the motion. I do not see any. Next, we have a presentation by Zorik from Planning and Rules. He's a Planning and Rules Manager who will be discussing the Air Quality Management Plan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll wait for the presentation to come up.
I see the slide for the presentation. Do you see it, Zorik?
No, I don't. I see the.
Okay, next slide, please.
Oh, okay. There you go. All right. Yeah, thanks everyone again for the opportunity to provide update on the recent AQMP related activities. When we say AQMP is the Regional Air Quality Management Plan that essentially sets forth the specific control strategies that need to be implemented to meet the national ambient air quality standards in the Basin and the Coachella Valley. Next slide, please. So what I'm going to do is provide quick updates on some of the recent activities that we've had in relation to several standards. First, I'll address the 2006 24-hour PM 2.5 standards for Southwest Air Basin. PM 2.5 again refers to fine particles that are less than 2.5 microns. These come from varieties of combustion sources, stationary, mobile, from cooking, from wildfires, from fireworks. Happy to report that South Coast Air Basin has already met the previous 1997 PM 2.5 standards. By the way, I wanted to mention that there are serious health impacts associated with PM 2.5 standards in terms of cardiovascular and respiratory issues. But over the last, I would say 20 years, we've been able to reduce the PM 2.5 concentrations in the basin by at least 50%. Which is a significant progress. As I mentioned, 2 of the previous standards which EPA has established. Again, these are what's called National Ambient Air Quality Standards that EPA adopts. They are health-based and the regions are required to demonstrate attainment of the standards by specific attainment deadlines. So for the 1997 standards, we met those standards in 2013, 2 years before the attainment deadline. What I'm going to address today is the 2006 24-hour standard. 24-hour basically means the averaging of the concentrations of 35 microgram per cubic meter. You have an attainment date of 2019 with a serious non-attainment classification. And there's another upcoming attainment, upcoming standard of the 2012 annual PM 2.5 standard that has a 2025 attainment date. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we've had significant improvements in the PM 2.5 air quality over the last 20 years. However, because of some of the higher numbers that we saw in two stations, namely Mira Loma and Compton, in the 2017 to 2019 timeframe, we were not able to fully demonstrate attainment of the standard by the end of 2019. As you can see, all stations were below the standard that's shown by the dashed lines, except for stations in Compton and Mira Loma. Because we failed to attain the standard, even though we were very, very close to attaining the standard, contingency measures in Rule 445, which is our wood burning devices, went into effect, which essentially lowered the curtailment threshold from 30 to 29, essentially requiring additional no burn days in the basin. It also required us to develop a plan to show how we're going to meet this standard as expeditiously as possible. Next slide, please. So the plan was developed last year which addressed all the specific Clean Air Act requirements. Included updated emissions inventory, modeling, and attainment demonstration. And based on our modeling, and because we were very close to attaining the standard, we were able to show that emission reductions that are expected to be achieved from existing regulations will provide the necessary reductions over the next few years, and we will be able to meet the standard on or before 2023. And there's also a number of other regulations that have been adopted since 2016 AQMP that would also provide further assurance that we will meet that standard by 2023. When I talk about existing regulations, I'm talking about regulations such as ARB's truck and bus regulation that is not fully implemented yet, but by 2023, that regulation will require all the heavy-duty trucks to meet the 2010 engine standard that will provide additional NOx and PM 2.5 reductions. And that's one of the regulations we're relying on to show this new attainment date. The plan was adopted by our governing board last December and was submitted to EPA through ARB. Next slide, please. And again, as we had speculated, we were very close to attaining the standard. When you consider the PM 2.5 air quality last year, excluding the wildfires and fireworks, which can be excluded and are considered exceptional events, if you exclude those, we actually were able to meet that standard last year. And once we have an opportunity to address all the exceptional events, as I said, the wildfires and fireworks, EPA will do a clean data determination that would essentially suspend the plan that we submitted to them. Next slide, please. The next, I want to address the 1997 8-hour ozone for Coachella Valley. Again, when we talk about ozone, we are not talking about stratospheric ozone, which is the ozone layer, and that ozone is a good ozone, protects us from the harmful effects of ultraviolet radiation. It's about 6 miles from the surface of the Earth. What we are talking about here is the ground level ozone, for which EPA has adopted health-based national ambient air quality standards. And ozone is created in the atmosphere by the reaction of VOCs, it's the hydrocarbons, and nitrogen oxides, which come from combustion sources. So Coachella Valley was originally classified as a severe non-attainment area with a 2019 attainment date. However, because we were not able to meet that standard, even though we were very close to attaining a standard, the region was voluntarily reclassified to an extreme non-attainment area with a new attainment date of 2024. That voluntary bump up is allowed under the Clean Air Act when certain regions cannot meet the attainment date by the required date, and they have an opportunity to request to be reclassified to a higher non-attainment reclassification to allow for additional time for meeting the standard. Because of the reclassification, we were also required to develop a plan, a SIP implementation plan by February of this year to show again attainment of the standard as expeditiously as possible. Next slide. This slide shows the trends in ozone in Coachella Valley. The red line is the 1 hour ozone concentrations, for which actually Coachella Valley has met the 1 hour ozone standard several years ago, back in 2013. That's a standard that we have not yet met in the South Coast Air Basin. The blue line is the 8 hour ozone concentrations. As you can see, despite some year-to-year variations, we are approaching the attainment of this standard, and we are very close to meeting this standard. Again, this is the impact of a number of existing regulations and programs that have been adopted by ARB and Southwest AQMD that have resulted in these improvements. Next slide, please. So we developed the ozone plan last year again. The plan again included updated inventory and modeling. This plan also showed attainment of the standard on or before 2023. In fact, some of our modeling showed that we would be able to attain this standard in 2022, a year before 2023. Again, this relied on emission reductions from existing regulations and programs, and there was no need for additional control programs to be adopted to meet this standard as early as possible. The plan was adopted by our board last December and was submitted to EPA through CARB. The contingency measure requirement that is also part of this, part of the requirements, will be addressed through a separate rulemaking process. This is in the event that we don't meet the standard or fail to meet enough reductions toward attaining the standard. The vehicle miles travel offset demonstration is something that actually was addressed by CARB in their last board meeting last week. This is essentially showing that increase in VMT is offset by existing control programs, and that's a demonstration that ARB was able to make for Coachella Valley. Next slide, please. Next, I'm going to address the 2015 8 hour ozone standard. This is the most stringent of ozone standards of 70 parts per billion. You can see from the table, these are the 4 ozone standards that South Coast Air Basin is classified as an extreme non-attainment area for all 4 ozone standards, starting from the 1979 1 hour ozone to this 2015 8 hour ozone standard of 70 parts per billion. Needless to say, it's been very challenging to meet these standards over the years, again, because of the significant still emissions that we have for mobile sources, which account for 80% of the NOx emissions in the basin, and topography of the basin. So it's been very challenging over the years to meet these standards in the basin. But as you can see from the slide, in 2015, based on latest scientific data, EPA adopted their latest ozone standard of 70 ppb, and we were classified as an non-attainment area for South Coast, and Coachella Valley was classified as a severe non-attainment area. And we have the 2038 and 2033 as our attainment days for both of these.
Video doesn't come up.
Next slide, please. This slide shows the ozone trends in South Coast Air Basin. You saw a similar one that I showed for Coachella Valley. The red line, again, is the 1 hour ozone concentrations over the years. As you can see, despite some significant improvements that we had in the early years, there's been somewhat of a leveling off over the last few years. And in fact, last year, there was an increase in ozone levels, as you may have all heard, that we had some extreme high temperatures, very stagnant conditions, record level fireworks, historic fireworks actually, that we didn't have before, record high temperatures, as well as some changes in emissions in response to the COVID. But as you can see, we are approaching that standard for the 1 hour standard, except for last year. But there's still ways to go. The blue line is the 8 hour ozone standard. The dashed lines show the standards for 1997 8 hour standard of 80 ppb and the new one at 2015. So we're still far away from meeting these standards, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Again, as I mentioned, meeting these standards have become very challenging, primarily because most of the reductions that we need for meeting these standards come from mobile sources, which are not under the purview of the district. And more than 80% of the NOx emissions come from mobile sources, which are under the purview of California Air Resources Board and EPA. And on the federal side, more than 35% of the emissions come from federal sources like ocean-going vessels, aircraft, out-of-state trucks, which again, federal government has not done enough to reduce emissions from those source categories. Next slide, please. So for this upcoming air quality management plan, we're required to develop this plan and submit it to EPA by August of next year. We call it a 2022 AQMP, and it's our blueprint of how we're going to attain these standards by the attainment deadline of, as I mentioned, 2033 for Coachella Valley and 2038 for Southwest Air Basin. The new AQMP, we will have updated inventory, updated modeling, updated attainment demonstration, updated specific control measures for both station and mobile sources, and a number of other things that we need to include in the AQMP. And as I mentioned, needs to be submitted to EPA by August of next year. And we've started the process of developing this AQMP already, and we're in that process right now. Next slide, please. So to help us develop specific control measures, mostly for mobile sources, we have established 5 working groups. There is a working group for residential and commercial buildings, but we also established 4 mobile source working groups covering ocean-going vessels, aircraft, heavy-duty trucks, and construction and industrial equipment. And we'll also be looking at updating a number of the control measures in the last AQMP, and also coming up with new measures for other source categories. The idea of these working groups is to identify specific control measures. And when we say specific control measures, we mean what is the strategy, what's the timeline, who's going to do it, how much reductions we're going to get. And that's the kind of measures that EPA wants to see in the plan, instead of just saying we're going to need so much reductions overall to meet the attainment. Next slide, please. So on the residential and commercial buildings working group, again, the idea is to explore specific measures to reduce NOx from residential and commercial appliances. This category of emissions account for 34% of overall station source emissions, and it's obviously significant. We had our first meeting in December. We also had our actually second meeting last week, so I didn't have time to put it in this slides. But the working group is looking at possible strategies that can be implemented for both new buildings and existing buildings, either through amending our existing rules and regulations or coming up with different kind of incentive programs. But we really need to tackle this category. As you can see, 34% of 60 tons a day is significant. It's about 20 tons a day of NOx emissions that we need to address in our upcoming AQMP. Next slide, please. So for mobile sources, we had our introductory meeting in December. We covered a number of background information in terms of the air quality challenges that we face in the basin, talked about specific working group that I mentioned already. There was an overview of the ARB's mobile source strategy. They're currently in the process of developing, talked about provide an update on our facility-based mobile source measures, also discussed the need for infrastructure if you have control measures that would require extensive penetration of zero emission or near zero emission technologies. Next slide. So the first series of working groups, excuse me, were held, excuse me, late January, early February, and we plan to have subsequent meetings every 5 to 6 weeks. We just sent a notice out, and so the second series of working groups will be later in March or early part of April, but those meetings will continue for the next 6 to 7 months. Next slide. So just a couple of updates on our first working group on heavy-duty trucks and construction equipment. We looked at various strategies that CARB is looking at for both of these categories. also talked about incentive programs, excuse me, that district is implementing. The heavy-duty trucks working group also looked at the inspection and maintenance program that CARB is in the process of developing, a proposed advanced clean fleet regulations that looking at extensive transition to zero-emission technologies over the next over the next several years, maybe up to 2035. Discussion of infrastructure needs, and also the ZEV market development that would be really needed to support implementation of these existing regulations. Next slide. Excuse me. For ocean-going vessels and aircraft, we also held our first meetings in early February. We discussed the contribution of ocean-going vessels and aircraft to our South Coast Air Basin. Collectively, they're significant. Ocean-going vessels could account for 20% of NOx emissions in the future. Ocean-going vessels will actually be the largest source of NOx emissions in the basin over the next 10-15 years. Aircraft continue to be a significant challenge for us, and emissions are supposed to, or expected to, keep increasing to a range of maybe up to 10-12% by 2037. We discussed some of the strategies that CARB has in their mobile source strategy. We also presented a discussion on what we call PRIMER, Pacific Rim Initiative for Maritime Emission Reductions. It's an initiative that district has initiated to develop partnerships with Asian ports. Sorry. To implement incentive programs and to encourage deployment of cleaner Tier 3 ocean-going vessels to our ports. We had an update on our national and international standards affecting ships and aircraft, and also discussion of federal initiatives by FAA addressing aviation emissions. Next slide. So when we look at our overall controlled approach of how are we going to meet the 2015 8-hour ozone standards of 70 ppb, we're going to need significant reductions of NOx by 2037 for South Coast and 2033 for Coachella Valley. In the last plan, I don't know, some of you may remember, for the 2016 AQMP, we estimated that we needed 45 to 55% NOx reductions by 2023 and 2031 to meet the related ozone standards in those years. For 2037, we think we may need 60 to 70% in NOx reductions by 2037, which is even more challenging for the basin. But again, with a longer horizon that we have, there might be an opportunity to develop enough specific measures that we will be able to meet that standard. And that's what we're really hoping to accomplish through our working group efforts and other work that is going on. But we do need an extensive transition to near zero and zero emission technologies in both mobile and stationary sources. And if they're not feasible, we need to have the cleanest available technologies. When we talk about aircraft, for instance, near zero and zero emission don't really make sense, but we can still have the cleanest engines, aircraft engines, for aircraft to achieve the most reductions. We need to look at the combination of regulatory measures and incentive programs, as always. And there's really a push to eliminate reliance on what's called 182E5 measures. These are what we call black box reductions. Clean Air Act allows regions to rely to a certain extent on emission reductions that are not quite defined and are based on development of new technologies. We hope to eliminate that completely and rely on specific strategies and technologies that are available today. And we expect to be commercially available in the time frame that we're talking about. We may need to seek additional legislative authority for our own sources. One example might be a fleet rules to seek additional legislative authority to get further reductions from that source category. And we also need to look for new sources of funding to complement our proposed and upcoming regulatory programs. And also there's a need to work closely with state and local governments to maximize reductions from residential and commercial buildings, and that's the subject of the working group that I mentioned. Next slide. So just a quick run on the overall schedule. The working groups that I mentioned will be meeting over the next 6 months or so, probably through August and September, to identify specific measures. We are hoping, we plan to release our draft AQMP by late fall of this year, take it to our board by June of next year, to CARB board by July, and submit it to EPA by August, which is the upcoming deadline. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Zorik. I see Rebecca with her hand raised.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the presentation. I just had one question. Does the plan include any type of recommendations for AQMD to adopt and implement an indirect source rule?
We are in the process of developing the next AQMP. As you know, there were the facility-based mobile source measures in the last AQMP for airports, ports, warehouses, rail yards, and developments and new developments. So those measures will be updated for the next AQMP. You know that the airports measure was adopted in the form of an MOU with the commercial airports, which really focused on ground support equipment. The MOU with the ports is currently on hold. It's being delayed because the ports have not really adopted their clean trucks program. ISR warehouse, you may be aware, that is going on right now. It's going to our board in April. I think rail yard ISR is also under development. So we will update the measures for the next AQMP, and we definitely would like to carry those forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other members have questions? Okay, seeing none, I will move to the public. I see Harvey's hand raised. Paul, do you have a timer? Okay, I'm assuming he does. I'm going to go to Harvey. Harvey?
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name's Harvey Etter. I'm speaking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition. Good presentation, Zorik. There's missing information. That's a glaring omission. And this is taken from, there was an article written by Tony Barbosa, who writes on the district and stuff, cover LA Times on the 16th of December. It told of an October 6th petition saying that they haven't met, the district hasn't met the 79 ozone standards and won't. And that you only have 3 violations a year for the next 3 years, 2021 and 22. It was by a couple dozen environmental groups, including some that are represented here, the Sierra Club, CBE, NRDC, East Yard, etc. Okay, they said that there'd been, in the first 9 months, this was filed October 6th of last year, and they said in the first 9 months there had already been 26 violations of the 79 standards, etc. And that's like what 120, 140 versus the 70 is more recent. Okay, so these efforts for a 22 plan are illegal in that you never evaluated the 16 Solar New Deal. The district didn't, CARB didn't, EPA didn't. And when we tried the petition almost a year and a half ago, going to the Ninth Circuit Court in San Francisco, we were run out by the marshals and the FBI under color of authority and threatened the president. We are not allowed to petition. Even, this is outrageous. This is not America. Okay, so this is, this was submitted timely, and we were trying to comment on the Federal Register and whatnot. Okay, what happened on the 6th of January? The coup attempt. And now they're talking about in the hearings today and yesterday with the FBI, and said that there may be something happening tomorrow. There's a threat. Okay, we don't know. So democracy is threatened, and equity. And I'm incorporating by reference, and for folks that aren't familiar with, there's a French economist named Thomas Piketty. And in 14, and we put this in the record in the 16 plan, he wrote Capital in the 21st Century, about equity, and showed the inequity in history, mostly in Western countries. And he's expanded that. Last year wrote Capital and Ideology. So, and that's excellent. And also there was an interview with him in The Guardian. I'm incorporating.
Thank you for your comments, Harvey. Okay, thank you so much, Zorg, for joining us and providing an in-depth overview of the AQMP. If any of the members have any questions, I'll be sure to direct those questions to you.
And by all means, and we have a number of working group meetings that are going on. Notices will go out. If anybody's interested, definitely let us know. We'll add you to our mailing list.
Wonderful. Thank you, Zorik.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to move on. I'm going to step in for Derek for a bit. He had to step out for a meeting. So I have the pleasure of introducing our advisory council member, Nicole Starks Murray, and she will be presenting on Road to Samaria. So Nicole?
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody is well and things are good. Just wanted to provide you a background overview of my organization. My name is Nicole Murray, and I am the Executive Director for Road to Samaria. And we are a grassroots organization that launched our services in Los Angeles County in 2007 initially, and have since moved in the last 2 years here to the Inland Empire as a hybrid model per se, in surveying what the community needs were here. We saw that there were a lot of gaps that we could provide services to our disadvantaged and communities. And so organization is a nonprofit organization, and we provide a consortium of services such as to families, services such as in-home support services, transitional housing, life skill training, social integration, and transitional housing assistance, along with crisis intervention services. And that is through our Los Angeles branch. Here in the Inland Empire, we've noted that there was a need post-COVID. So we were in the process of developing a center-based space for families to come and have educational services, linkage resources, those types of things. And COVID cut us down. In the midst of that, we have had to recapitulate a bit and see how we really continue educational services and basic needs services and linkage services for the Inland Empire. Here in the recent, we have partnered with a few community agencies to do some outreach relative to educational services surrounding, the vaccine, PPE. We've been distributing PPE and needed, support services to homeless families and those who have been in encampments. We've also found that in this whole COVID reroute, I would say revamp, in trying to reach families and service and get services to families, that educating them surrounding kind of the health and well-being of their families surrounding this time frame was really important. So our organization started some educational services that are virtual to just kind of provide information surrounding where to access services in our some of our disproportionate disadvantaged communities, where they can find those linkage services. And right now, Road to Samaria is starting an initiative called Gap Services. And what we're finding is that people that are coming through our organization needing services are not meeting all of the guidelines that conventional services would screen them for. So likely, if you needed housing services, of course you need to fit the requirement, the income requirement. You have to fit the demographic requirements, some of the funding for housing, not the CARES dollars. Some of the CARES dollars, if you've been impacted by COVID, or if you've had a particular health scenario in this COVID setting, you may be able to get resources. But we're finding some families might make too much at the time they're going in to get services, or maybe they're not in the right zip code area. So what our organization is trying to do right now through private funding is provide gap services for those who don't meet the conventional type for regular program services that may be out there. So we're hoping to have that launched and available in the next month, and through a screening process, families will be able to state the situation and what they were not able to ascertain by way of whatever services they need. And they may be granted resources through our organization for that. Road to Samaria is not a faith-based organization, although the name comes from the biblical sense that the Samaritans were the outcasts and the group of individuals that were born in the disparity that they were born in. And what we were finding when we launched services is that a lot of our communities in San Bernardino County particularly, have there's a disparity in service delivery. There's a disparity between Los Angeles County and San Bernardino County per capita dollars of what we're accessed. I find that the other nonprofit organizations, being that we have an organization in Los Angeles, but coming into the Inland Empire and what federal and state resources are available for small, large, and in-between organizations to competitively pursue is very small and consolidated. So what we can do as organizations and how far that goes is really a disparity. So our organization is really working on initiatives and really working with other grassroots organizations to come together and apply for resources that would help the group, but help the communities in our spaces and sphere of influence or resources that we provide to be able to give a broader scope of services to our communities. We just a little bit about what we're doing here in the recent. We do have linkage services to our energy education and environmental services through Community Action Partnership of San Bernardino County. They're a partner agency of mine, and although energy education used to be provided in person, it's all now virtual. So clients that are needing utility assistance, which is the heat services, or LIHEAP services, which are the weatherization services. And what I sense when families are coming in and they're getting food, or they're getting clothing, or they're getting their basic needs taken care of, when we could provide services to communities where they can shift their dollars. So not having to pay your utility bill, your electric bill, and having a credit on that, which you would have used those resources for paying your energy bill, you can actually use to have disposable income in your household, to be able to take care of your food, to be able to take care of those basic needs. And a lot of people don't access those HEAP services or the LIHEAP services because they don't know how the cost savings translates into their tangible dollars. So we are trying to make sure that families that are coming in saying that they're falling through the gaps, or that they're needing any types of services that we provide, that we also survey the community and see what linkage services that they are eligible for, and try to link them with those so that they can find it. You know, right through here with COVID, and I know I keep saying that, but we are at the, I see it, our organization sees that we're kind of at the next tier of the pandemic. And now that we have the vaccine out there and some other things, we know a little bit more, but we still have families that are struggling. And the biggest struggle right now is, how do I find these linkages? I used to be able to go to the door of an organization and find services. You know, how do I get that now? You know, having to be online and having to, you know, navigate has been really difficult. So we've been trying to provide that navigation help and support to families as well, just understanding what it is that they have access to and where they can get that. There is the coordinated entry service, which is 211 for San Bernardino County. But again, navigation, especially for families that have had incidents that have put them in situations where they're not self-sufficient and independent right now. They're not used to looking for services. They're not used to needing services. And so we really try to be a support services to families that are really trying to navigate to services. Other than that, you know, our plans are, we still have our community-based plans to build a community resource center in Rialto, California, slated for June of 2021. And our hopes is that, you know, that with the pandemic and all of the things that are going on right now, that we could yet be a source, a face-to-face source with, of course, all of the CDC regulatory things in mind. But our families need to just be able to get someplace and be able to navigate. And that's where we're finding that people are falling through the cracks a lot. Other than that, that is our organization. I will continue to bring resources and activities that are coming by way of our organization, linking with all of you all that may have other resources that people can value from, because I think what's happening now is we really have to come together as grassroots organizations or nonprofit organizations or organizations as a whole to be able to provide what we can through our resources so that we can get the most to our families. And so that's our point, that's our purpose. You could reach us at www.roadtosamaria.org, or you know, all of our information is on the website. And you know, we're here to serve. Our organization has a passion for the people, but passion for the people in disadvantaged communities. And almost every city in San Bernardino County is considered disadvantaged. So we really want to be a part of the solution.
Right.
You know, I don't know.
So not sure. Okay. So anyway, that's my presentation. Hope I wasn't too long, but just wanted to present our organization and what we do and some of the things that were on the map in our initiatives of helping our community.
Thank you, Nicole, for that wonderful presentation. And I'm just wowed by all of the work that you're doing during this time, especially during the pandemic. So for me, it was really interesting to hear how you've been navigating, continuing your work virtually. I know for us, we've definitely had to encounter that, but it was interesting to hear it from your point of view. Does anyone from the advisory council have any questions? Todd?
No.
So, hi, yes, it's really more of a comment. Hi, Nicole. Thank you so much. I teach at San Bernardino Valley College, so we're neighbors. So I hope and trust that's okay if I share the information that you provided with our students, and then we also have on campus what's called the Valley Resource 360 Center, and I think your services, as you say, you really fill in those gaps that so many students have fallen into during these times. So thank you so much. And I hope that's okay if I share your information with our.
Absolutely. Please do. Please do.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Any other questions? I have another quick question. How have you been able to get the word out in the community that you're still up and running, that you're offering services? How do you get the word out to others about these services?
You know, it has been very difficult because, again, we do, community boards, we participate in linkage community, virtual events with other organizations. Word of mouth has been our biggest translator, to be honest. We call, we connect. People call us saying, we have someone that may need your service, and that's just, how we do it. We participate in the COC for San Bernardino County. That's the collective consortium of organizations, and we're participating in outreach services that are being provided with other organizations just to get the word out. But as a for our San Bernardino branch, we are really working to build the resource. So the funding is there, but it is limited at times, and we're really pushing to get more resources. But we're everywhere. We're working with IEHP. We're with Molina. We're with CAPS. We try to be, we send out. I think there is a newsletter that goes out. We're just, we probably are not known in the sense that we should be, but most of our clients come by way of other clients that have been served. And so it's a word of mouth. Families say, oh my God, did you guys know you can go here? They can try to help you get linked. So that is the most effective way that we've been able to get word out for our services, alongside of participating in things like this.
Wonderful. So we'll make sure we send out the information in the next week to the advisory council members as well, so that they can link up with you if they have any connections, as Todd mentioned.
Awesome.
And I see one comment from the public, and that is Harvey. So I'm going to ask Paul to start the timer. And Harvey?
Hi there. Am I being heard?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Harvey Eder. I'm speaking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition process. I'm on a cell phone. I've been on a cell phone. I've never seen the agenda or presentations. Okay? That's a deficiency that's got to be adjusted. Also, there should be a time. There we have reference to a timer or something. There is no timer. Okay? So like minute notice, 30-second notice.
You're at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and the agenda is posted.
All right, and easy access to the agenda. When you go to webcasts and calendar, it should be on there. And when you press for environmental justice, and you click on it, it goes and takes you to the last board meeting and their agenda. You have to go over to another site and hunt for it. It should be available at all of these approaches, okay? Samaria, with an ancient Israel, 3,000 years ago. For those that don't know, Israel was reborn, the only country that ever happened after 2,000 years. It was called Judea and Samaria. Okay, I believe that might have been spelled with a U, but the word sounds similar. Okay, I wanted to point that out, and then hankering to get in these process comments. And anyway, I think this kind of thing is really good. I know about services and that it's like batting against, playing against the casino, the house. Okay, they don't, when you call up different agencies or whatnot, and this is a very basic thing, and I like to suggest this, that you pursue this, trying to pursue it, that they do not put you in a queue and tell you where you are. They say, oh, we respect you and all this stuff. But, that's disrespecting, and it happens with county numbers, etc., with city numbers, special districts, and services, EBT, etc. So, and with the pandemic now, it's much worse. And we're talking about basic freedom, the democratic system, and this thing, this guy Piketty that wrote these books on equity, that we doubled the inequity in our system in the last 30 years. Okay, it's getting worse. It's a threat to democracy. That's what's happening now. I think everybody should watch the series on Lincoln. It's on Sunday nights on CNN at 7 o'clock, again at 10. The next Sunday for 3 weeks it's going to be on. You should be able to get on YouTube. It's history. It's excellent. All right. And I also had a thing on Q. The head of the FBI would not denounce Q. All right. He says the Jews, Hebrews, started our fires by having lasers in the sky and starting the fires in California. That's how climate is being dealt with on the radical right. Okay. The head of the FBI would not condemn the members.
Thank you, Harvey, for your comments. And I will make sure to give you a heads up on the time as we move forward. So thank you, Nicole, once again, wonderful work. We'll be in touch.
Okay.
So next I have a presentation. It's an environmental justice community partnership update. But before I start the presentation, I want to do something a little unconventional for this one. I want to start off by kindly requesting advisory council members to please turn on their cameras, at least for just a minute, so we can get a photo. I know before, when we were back at South Coast, when we'd meet in person, we used to have all these amazing photos that we can share with the public, but we have not been able to do that since we've gone virtual. So we want to get a few screenshots with all of you here because we are participating virtually. So I'll give everyone a few seconds to turn on their cameras. We can get a screenshot and then I'll go on with my presentation quickly.
Sorry, my lighting is a bit off, so that's why I turned it off. And I don't have a...
No worries, Oscar. Thank you. All right, so I think Connie will be taking the screenshot, so you let us know, Connie.
All right, guys, and that is in 3, 2, 1. Everyone smile. All right, we're gonna try it one more time.
Hi guys, this is Eddie. I keep trying to start my video and it's saying that I have to go to my settings, I have to hop on 2 feet, blah, blah, blah. Sorry.
No worries. If you can't turn on your camera, we completely understand. But those of you that can turn on their cameras, we thank you for that.
Okay, and then one more. All right, 3, 2, 1. Everyone smile. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. All right, so with that out of the way, thank you for participating on that. I'll move forward with my presentation. So once again, my name's Alicia. I've been working under the Environmental Justice Program for some time. It's very nice to see so many familiar faces here today. But I will be asking that you please, all of your comments, your input is really valuable as we continue to develop programs, especially now, as Nicole mentioned, We're going virtual with a lot of them, so that changes a lot of aspects of our programming. And so any comments, any recommendations that you can provide will be very valuable for our staff moving forward. So next slide, please. The first program I want to touch upon is the Clean Air Program for Elementary School Students, which is also CAPES. This is a virtual, 100% virtual program now, as I've mentioned before. And we aim to really implement air quality education and bring awareness of air quality to schools in grades 1 through 6. So we are currently in the process of creating curriculum, creating videos, and actually this past weekend, an update is we just shot 3 videos, one on Air Quality 101, another video on how to become a cleaner hero, things you can do to help protect the environment. And then the third video was on reading the air quality index so that students can come with a basic understanding of what the daily air quality is. And so for that, we were really excited. We had Christian J. Simon, who is a regular on Sydney to the Max. He was super professional, really talented. I think he'll be famous one day. He was just amazing. So we were so happy to have him. And then we also had Madeline Miranda. She was the younger version of Dora in the live action Dora the Explorer. So they were really wonderful to work with. We're really excited to share those videos once we have them soon. So I'll keep you up to date on those videos. But one of the things I really want to touch upon is our outreach efforts. We understand that due to distance learning for a lot of districts, partnering is a little bit more difficult, which is why we've done our best to come up with the curriculum for the teachers and then also have those short 5-minute videos on air quality. So I know I've done this before, but if you know of any school that would be interested in showing the curriculum to the schools, please let us know. We're looking for schools. We have schools already that we've connected with, but we still are looking to connect with more and spread the word. Since this program has been revamped, we really want to spread the word on how it's 100% virtual. It's no longer in person. So, you know, if you have anyone, please let me know. And then if you have questions, I'll be taking them throughout the presentation as well. But you can either let me know now or email me, but that would be really helpful as we continue to expand this program and reach more students. Any questions on CAPES before I move forward and where we're at with that program?
Alicia, can I ask, is it just public schools, or will you provide this to private or charter school? You know, is it just for public schools?
We are open to any school that is interested in participating in this program.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I can share it also with my son's high school in La Cañada.
Okay, so for the high school level, we have the Why Healthier Matters, but I'll still take the information because I know that they're trying to reach out to more high schools as well, Teresa. So
okay, I think it's middle high school.
Oh, okay.
And then there's an elementary school that he went to here in Pasadena that may be interested also. They're private.
Okay. I'll send you an email after and then we can connect on that.
Okay, thank you.
Send it to me as well, because I have some schools in the area as well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Todd?
Yes, hi. I'm just sort of to continue that thread. And Alicia, I know we've talked about conversations with you, Julie, and others, you know, on our own campus, perhaps getting community college level students involved in these programs as well. So thank you for that.
No problem. I'll be providing an update on our last meeting in a little bit, so that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, I'll move on to the next slide. The next update is for the Interagency Task Force. We have a lot happening with this program. As you all have heard, we had piloted this program. A few of you are actually involved in it, like Lisa Hart. We had met mostly on Los Angeles County for the past year. We developed a Who to Call guide, which I'll show you shortly on what that looks like. We're conducting outreach, but basically we are potentially developing a community meeting that is being requested by community members and other agency representatives to talk about the basics of air pollution, because what we're hearing from community members is that there have been a lot of meetings where perhaps a lot of the information is very technical, and they want a presentation on something that brings it back to how do you know about air quality. So we're planning that for the summer, and we're also working on an interagency staff meeting. But I would like to share my screen, and it has the Who to Call guide, and I'll share it with you for those of you that potentially may be able to help us outreach for this guide. That'd be really great. So give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen here. So this is what the final product, and of course we'll make updates to this as needed and post them on our website. But this is a Who to Call guide that is organized for environmental issues. So for Nicole, for example, this would be a great resource for community members that perhaps need information on who to call for environmental complaints. It's organized by topics and then by agencies, depending on the topic that's needed. So we understand that this is potentially going to need upkeep, so we'll be working on doing that annually. And we really want to thank all the organizations that have been a part of it throughout the process and helping us get this together. So if you are able to share this with community members, that'd be great. We just want to get the word out on this resource. Does anyone have any questions on interagency work or information?
I have a question.
Yes.
Teresa, how do you get the message out? You know, what is your reach and who do you use? I mean, do you do it in-house to send it out by social media? Do you send it out to the different organizations, and what's your reach?
Yeah, so right now we are number one, we've sent it out to our contacts internally, and we are also working on partnering with the task force members to also, so that they can also get the word out. So we have different agency representatives from, like, you know, sanitation to community-based organizations and other partners that we're looking for them to also help us get the word out on this. So it's not just our organization. Like one of the organizations that's there is Pacoima Beautiful. So they've been sending this out to their contacts, their partners, and also the community members. And so that's really what we're trying to do, is link up with other organizations and other agencies to help us get the word out on the Who to Call guide. So that's really what we've been utilizing. And also we're also sending it to an array of cities across LA County and unincorporated areas as well. I believe to heads of like public works departments. So we're sending it to them. And so that's really our strategy so far that we've utilized in getting this guide out.
Okay, but not on social media?
No, not on social media yet, but we're actually developing the post for it and the links.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But you bring up a good point, Teresa. I think I think the final version went up already, so it would be great to share that link with you all as well for that post. So maybe you can repost it as well. That would be awesome.
Yes. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. Lisa Hart?
Yeah, apologies if you said this, but have you sent us the final version? I didn't know that it was available.
I believe we have, but I'll look to Jeanette. Did we send the final version to the task force?
Yeah, it came along with, I think, your agenda packet for your review, the English and the Spanish version. I can resend it to you, Lisa, so it's at the top of your email.
For the task force, I know our last meeting, it wasn't ready yet. It hadn't been posted yet. Anyway, yeah, so when I mean, if it's in my email, I can just go back to it, but I know it wasn't ready for our last meeting, and so when it's ready, we can include it. And if you tag us in social media or let us know that it's or reach out to us when you post it, we can share it that way too.
Lisa, just want to clarify, it was in a follow-up email because it came right after. So
Okay,
follow-up
that's
email.
fine. Then I can go and find that. That's fine. That's what I wasn't sure about. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. Also, we have developed language that you can just copy and paste on an email, attach the who to call guide and send it out to your contacts as well. So that's something that I'll work with Jeanette to send out to all of you as well. And okay, I'm gonna lower Lisa's hand. Next, I will move on to a quick update on the 7th annual EJ conference, which is actually the upcoming conference in 2021. Right now, we are waiting on approval on whether we're going to do a hybrid version or virtual, but we're thinking most likely it's going to be 100% virtual because we can't really predict what the situation will look like in October. But we are planning to have it in October 2021. And, one of the things that I've heard, I think it was from Paola, was that last year's conference, we looked at all of the comments, we've looked at from our survey results, and we found that the community would really like for us to focus on a just transition. And so that's something that we want to highlight in this upcoming conference. So I will share with you all a couple of names of conference names, and I'd like to get your input on what you think about those names. Also, a few examples of panel topics that we can start drafting and working on. We really want to hear from you on what you have. But before we move forward, one of the things that we're looking at as well are our conference hosting services. So the past 2 years, we've used Whova, which has worked okay, but there are limitations to it, like creating an account to view the conference. We really don't want to do that, although we do live stream it live, and it is available to anyone that wants to view it. So we are looking at conference websites. So if you have any ideas, we're looking at Hopin, Cadence, and SpotMe. Those are two of the top ones that we're looking at, but I'm sure a lot of you are much more familiar with these platforms than perhaps we are, and we want to make sure that the public can just click a link and enter the conference, and also that interpretation is easy to navigate for the community. So does anyone have any input on different streaming platforms? No? Okay. Well, if you do, just let me know. Next, I want to review the, oh, I see Lisa's hand. Lisa?
Sorry, I don't remember if this is Whova or not, but I did, I've used Whova and I was a little underwhelmed, but then I used something else, and I can look it up. I think I can't remember the name of it, but it was like, I actually felt for the first time that I was actually out of the house and at a real meeting, because you go in and you see the layout of like a floor plan with tables and chairs and stuff. And then you go and decide what table you're going to sit at. And when you sit at that table, you actually get to see and talk with the other people who are sitting at that table.
Wow.
So it felt so much to, I mean, for me, who has been pretty much in my apartment the last year, it was very, very, very exciting. So I can,
interesting.
Microsoft Teams, but
yeah, it wasn't that, but I will, I can find it pretty easily because I know it was Lacey. Do you guys know LA Clean Tech Incubator?
Yes.
It was one of their events, and I've used it somewhere else, but the Lacey folks did it way better than the other folks did. So anyway, I can find pretty easily in my calendar, I think, what it was, if nobody else knows.
That would be great. That sounds amazing.
It was just more interactive. I just want things to be more interactive, and this was.
Okay.
And it was pretty easy to use. So
Wonderful.
I liked it more than other things I've tried.
Thank you for that recommendation. We'll definitely follow up with you and hopefully find it and get a meeting with them. Ada?
Yeah, thank you. So Lane, the Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy had their event last year at some point, and it was something like Lisa's talking about. It was so interactive, and you got to go to your table and, you know, speak to your table, but also then venture off into other tables as well and have conversations with folks. So if you can take a peek at what they did, that would be amazing. And Jose Trinidad Castañeda is also saying that there's a name, the name of the platform is Remo. Does that sound familiar to you, Lisa?
Yes, that's it. Thank you. That's it.
Sure. Thank you to Jose Trinidad Castañeda. Yeah, but if we can look into what in addition to Remo, what what Lane used, that would be amazing.
Wonderful. We will look into both of those. Thank you for those recommendations, and thank you, Jose, for that. All right. So I do want to share a couple of conference titles that we have drafted. Want to see if we're on the right path. Okay, can you all see the screen? Proposed event themes? Yes, okay. Wait, I don't see the green outline. So first, and these are just draft event titles, but creating a just path forward. Second one is the fight for clean air, yesterday, today, tomorrow. The third is united for a just transition. And the fourth is united for an equitable and just future. So those are our 4 drafts. Does anyone have any comments? Or
Alicia, I have a comment. It's Ada.
Yes.
I mean, I'm in between 1 and 2, and the reason why I like 1 is because it's I think we need hope right now, and even though so that's why I like number 1. Number 2 I like because specific to clean air. So if we want the focus to be, you know, specifically on clean air and for it to be clear, then the two is for me. But I like them both.
This is Teresa. Maybe we can say creating a clean air path forward or something like that with number 1, but I do like 2. I agree with you. The others don't really tell us what we do, but 2 does. Doesn't, you know, it doesn't mention what,
I'm hearing a lot of 1 and
our fights for clean air.
Perfect. Thank you. And then I see Lisa's hand up.
Yeah, I actually prefer 2 and 3. I feel like, you know, we're always, some of these themes start to sound a little trite or like cliches after a while. And I think that's why I'm not so keen on 1, because I think I've heard that phrase probably, it feels like 100,000 times. 2, I like more because it sounds more specific. And actually, I think it would be really interesting to actually get into that and talk about what the fight was before and how it's changed and what we're looking forward to in the future. And 3 is also kind of talked about all the time, but it's so important that I just feel this transition thing. I guess I like the word transition because it's talking about a change, which sounds exciting, but 2 is probably my favorite.
Okay. I'm hearing a lot of 2. Sounds like 2 is a contender. Any other comments?
I
was just gonna say that number 2 sounds. I think I personally like that one better. Just like, you know, the previous person who spoke said that, you know, we focus on the issues of yesterday, but also focusing on what we're confronted with now and what we're confronting with fixing tomorrow. And so I actually have a request, but I'll do that during the public comment later on.
Okay.
But yeah, personally connect with number 2 as well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Valerie and then Nicole.
I vote for number 2 as well. I think it's the clearest, and with the idea that we do look at the past, what's going on right now, and setting up the future of tomorrow. And it's more narrow with it being part of the AQMD specifically.
Okay. Thank you, Valerie. And Nicole?
Yeah, number 2 really resonates. I think there's always going to be a fight for the equity relative to clean air. And so I think that really says that we're forging forward. And I love the yesterday, today, and tomorrow, because it doesn't have to look like that in all of those, settings, right? What we learn from yesterday, we know what we're dealing with now, but we really are looking forward to tomorrow. And so I think that sets the plight for some characteristics that would fall under that, that would help our purpose and our plans here. So number 2.
Wonderful. Paula?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for these. These are great themes. I was gonna say the second one, yes, but at the same time, like, how do we not overly focus on like just a timeline, right? Because it says yesterday, today, tomorrow. But instead of like, because I see really good themes in the other ones, like a combination of the fight for clean air, yesterday, today, towards a just future, right? So we're framing this event as like we're collectively building a path forward. So I don't know, I was just gonna suggest sort of playing around with all of them, because I think it's important to bring the equitable and just words as part of the theme. But just a suggestion.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So kind of not losing that just transition theme as well.
Right.
Okay. Making sure I'm hearing correctly.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. That was super helpful. That really helps us a lot in terms of thinking about where we go next with the conference planning. I quickly will glance over this next slide. If Paul, you can share the presentation, but I just put on the presentation a few of the panel topics that we've been discussing. And again, we really didn't know where to move forward until we had a title, and your input really helps us. But a few of the things that we're thinking about and that we're hearing a lot and that have been requested is just an update on where we're at, since the last conference focused on the community survival throughout the pandemic, and just, as Nicole shared, just bringing those resources to the community. We've also saw last year we had a huge, not a huge, but it was like 25%. There was a lot of students that attended. So we're thinking about potentially doing a breakout session that targets those high school students. So something that they would find interesting. We have another panel topic potentially being on wildfires and what that's looked like, and some of the effects of that and power outages, and the inequities that we're seeing in that process. Another one is on environmental justice policies. Another topic could be community art, healing through art and sound. So I'm hearing, I think Ada said we need a lot of hope. So that might be something that we can utilize in a different way to think about healing since the pandemic. And then contributions from underrepresented communities. So just partnering with community organizations to provide updates on the programs that they're pushing forward during this time. So does anyone have any comments, or, it's a lot. I know I just threw a lot at all of you, but if you have any input on a topic or something that really stands out, please let me know so that, we can start organizing those panels and searching for folks. Because I think what's happened a lot is we've shifted away from a topic, and then we leave a little bit of time for those panelists to agree to participate. So we want to give them more time and more notice for the conference. All right, so next slide. And I just want to remind everyone that my presentation does showcase the environmental justice community partnership efforts, But there are many more efforts happening throughout the district that I did not present on today, such as AB 617 implementation, and also Why Healthier Matters program, which is a high school and middle school educational curriculum that's currently occurring. And, you know, if you have any recommendations for WHAM, send them my way and I can connect you with the staff member in charge of that program. Next slide. Also, I do want to share with everyone, we hosted, I think I presented it in December. I just announced that it was going to happen, but we did have the Dr. Martin Luther King Day of Service on January 16th, 2021. So that was about a month and a half ago, and it was a virtual event. And we had Fox LA's distinguished news anchor, Christine Devine, and other folks who participated, such as a keynote speaker, Miss Ariva Martin, who provided an inspirational message and speech capturing the incredible pressure our communities are currently facing. And so we also were able to have our new diversity, equity, and inclusion officer in attendance, which was really great. She's also here today. But that was hosted back in January. Just wanted to share with everyone. Not sure if you were able to attend, but wanted to share that with you all. And then also, next slide, please. We have the Cesar Chavez Day of Remembrance coming up, and that will be on March 27th. Again, that's virtual. We ask that you please register. And I just noticed that this slide does not have the registration link, but I have the registration link, so I'll make sure to share that with you all if you're interested in attending. Any questions, comments? Thank you all for your input. That's really helpful. Okay, seeing no comments, I am going to move to public comment, and I see Harvey's hand raised. So Paul, if you could start the timer, and I'm going to unmute Harvey. Harvey?
I did.
3. Okay.
Hold on a minute.
Hello. Hello. Am I
Hi,
being
Harvey.
heard?
We can hear you now.
Okay.
You have 3 minutes.
I tried to make comments on several items that were just brought up, and I was purged. Okay, I was not allowed to make comments. I'm going to make some now. When you go to those kids, the kids know stuff's going on. Okay. There's a figure that was used in 617 meetings in San Bernardino and whatnot, that for 5 elementary schools, 85% of the students, 85% of 1 through 6 grade kids under 11 have asthma. Okay, they've got to know this. Also, the Sunrise folks or youngsters in high school and whatnot, they're coming to meetings now. They don't know about these committee meetings yet and whatnot, but they're coming to the general meetings and they're involved and they got juice. They got juice in DC. All right, Greta. Greta's made contact a few years ago. I heard Fabian Wesson talk about this. Talk to her. All right. And let's get that. Okay. Don't lie to the kids. Okay. There was CDC, and I brought this up in another meeting. They said that of the Americans under 25, that 1 out of 4 in the last month had contemplated suicide. Okay. We got depression and anxiety. The opening the schools, that's why. All right. And that's in general for depression, anxiety for the population. And the threat of violence. Violence is increasing, and what's happened, the threat to democracy now. This stuff's really important. And the stuff with equity, great. Let's do this equity thing. But bring in this guy, Thomas Piketty, the French economist, and his 2 books, Capital in the 21st Century and Capital and Ideology, and interviews with him with The Guardian and The Nation in the last year. Excellent, okay? It talks about the value systems that create and rationalize inequity. And this is all over the world, okay? So this is important stuff. And anyway, I'm not happy with being purged. I hate to say it, but I'm getting a little bit used to it, but it's a messed up feeling. And by y'all, and when you say that environmental justice is for minority, racial minority, browns and blacks, disadvantaged communities. It should be for all disadvantaged communities. All right? Straight up. I'm sorry. That's the way it is. And you're alienating, and then the split with, you know, these Trump people, and some of those people can be related to. Stanford study of the Hoover Research Institute, 80% of young Republicans believe in climate. Okay? And 63% of all Republicans, those are people we can relate to and stuff. We got to just think of this as us and war and enemies. Okay, watching the stuff on the Civil War with Lincoln is educational. And
Thank you for your comments, Harvey. I also see Moses.
Hey, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Moses Huerta. I'm a former safety commissioner in the city of Paramount, and I really appreciate these meetings. I've attended a few, and I really learned quite a bit, and I really thank you all for the engagement. I did want to ask a quick question in reference to some comments Mr. Zorn made earlier in the email. He said we could some of the communities. I didn't catch that, so hopefully you might be able to follow it up in the meeting minutes, or if it's something that can be added on to. I just wanted to make a suggestion, Alicia, in referencing to sharing the information with the WAM and the other educational information. The California School Board, there is a directory from the California Department of Education. There's actually a link under their website that communicates to all schools, private and public, that actually has a link that says under health, and they actually have a section that talks about environmental health. I think that would be, if it's doable, a great opportunity to share that information that you put together there from the AQMD. Also, a comment on the theme of the environmental. I think if we can add in there some success stories, I believe in the positivity that the theme is, to really round out what the theme that you're leaning towards. I think any success stories that you can share would be helpful. I think will give us as attendees, as myself, would be great to see that the work, that hard work that's being happened, not only from the AQMD, but all the associations with the other departments, groups, federal, and also nonprofits, I think would be very useful and encouraging to continue going forward in our quest to the cleaner air. And just one final comment, as far as I did experience the REMO usage of that platform. It is very interactive. As a participant, I found it very useful, so my 2 cents in there, and if that helps. Again, thank you all for your hard work and the opportunity to speak with you, and I look forward to continued engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses, and thank you for your continued engagement in the EJ meetings. We will definitely look at the link you mentioned for the school board. We might follow up with you on that, and also I'll definitely look at REMO, so I'm really interested now in looking at that. Next, we're going to go to Jose.
Oh, okay, there we are. Good afternoon, everyone. Jose Trinidad Castañeda. I am just, I'll be speaking as the Orange County Policy Manager for the Climate Action Campaign. I know I wear a number of hats, but this is what I'm wearing today. I wanted to bring to the EJAC's attention something happening in the clean energy world. There is an upcoming CPUC decision that will determine the future of rooftop solar in the state of California. And what I'm on your EJ committee meeting for today is to bring this to your attention. There is more information at savecaliforniasolar.org. That's savecaliforniasolar.org. And we're really looking to inform and bring in environmental justice and equity organizations to our coalition to save rooftop solar. We know that local power And battery storage is the #1 way to eliminate blackouts in predominantly older homes and communities of concern that live in those homes. So if you're interested in finding out more, I'm always available, fairly accessible. Again, my name is Jose Trinidad Castaneda, and would love to speak with each of you outside of this meeting. So please visit savecaliforniasolar.org.
Thank you, Jose. And lastly, I see one more hand up, and that's Teresa. Not sure if it was from last time or. Okay, I don't hear from her, so I will move
Oh,
forward.
here you go. I'm sorry.
There you go.
I had myself on mute because I have my heater on and it makes so much noise.
No worries.
So there's a product that I wanted to share, and it is promising because it does kill COVID, but it also helps sanitize the air for kids that have asthma in the school districts. And it's from Israel. It's a product from Israel that they use to combat chemical warfare. And I didn't know really who to talk to more about this, maybe to Ada. We can talk off this call maybe at another time, just to talk possibly to the unions about it, because the kids are going back to school. And I'm really excited about this new product. It's from the Bethel Group, Bethel Industries in Israel. And they've used it to combat, as I mentioned, chemical warfare. And they have support letters from Israeli Department of Defense and the Sheba Hospital, the #9 hospital in the world. And it's just very exciting. It's not expensive, and it lasts for 10 years or longer. And the schools just place it up there in their HVAC systems. But also, you know, any other business or company can place it in their HVAC, adjacent to their HVAC system. So that's all.
Thank you, Teresa, for your comments.
Alicia, before you move on, it looked like Oscar did have his hand up just before we went to the public.
Yeah, it wasn't related to the presentation, but I wanted to speak on other matters. So I'm going to wait for that portion of the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so now we're in other business. So do any members have, oh, I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead. Sorry, I don't have the presentation in front of me. Paul, if we can share the presentation. I think we're at member updates. So if you would like to discuss any news, any updates being done in the community or other environmental news that you would like to share, now would be the time. And first hand I see is Ada.
Thank you, Alicia. And I am definitely happy to speak to the last speaker about that product. I just want to say that our union has been working to fight to ensure that hotels, the projects that are, of new hotels that are being built, that they include native trees and plant species that help us reduce GHG emissions. So in addition, we are trying to push forth transit programs that are going to ensure the reduced emissions for not only employees, but also for the guests. And we are just encouraging the Coastal Commission to require also the native plant species and provide transit passes for workers, especially at in Dana Point, where we have where there's a new hotel. So we're excited to encourage folks to start thinking about that while educating our membership about clean air. So we're going to continue to do this work and really figure out how to be more helpful.
Great.
Okay. Thank you. And then Teresa, Ada, if you need help connecting, just let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, I see, oh, Ada, you just spoke. Lisa?
Hi, a couple things. I was really interested to hear about the working groups to reduce NOx emissions and that sort of thing. Some of our allies have been talking about engaging with AQMD, South Coast AQMD, in the building electrification efforts, and maybe using something along the lines of, you know, like what you guys do with gas leaf blowers, incentives for people to swap out their leaf blowers, something like that for stoves, etc., so that people can get discounted appliances that are cleaner and better for indoor air and better for the climate crisis. So I think that will be fun to continue exploring. And lastly, we're also working on plastics and other waste issues. It's a very, very, very tiny step, but we're working on making it so that restaurants and those apps don't mean that you're necessarily getting another set of plastic fork and spoon and all that every time you get takeout or whatever, because most people don't need that. And then we're hoping to do something much more ambitious later. And realizing, this is something that I've learned a lot more about working on these efforts, is that when you think about plastic, you might not think of the whole full life cycle. And it really is an environmental justice issue, in that the places where these plastics are first created and end up at the end of their life cycle are often more closely linked to lower income communities than other communities. So it really is an issue that I hope all of us can get on board with. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Any other comments or updates, actually? Todd, and then Oscar, I'm not sure if you wanted to make an update. Todd?
Oh, okay. Did Oscar want to go first? Honestly, because I know he's kind of been waiting for a while. I'm happy to defer to him.
No, so I don't have any like member updates.
Okay.
But I just wanted to speak on the other matter portion.
Okay.
A request that for the AQMD. So you can go ahead, Todd. No worries.
Okay, thank you so much, Oscar, and everyone, Alicia and all. It's so great. I mean, everything is my favorite, but I mean, I love Nicole's presentation earlier. So wonderful, especially as it benefits our Inland Empire communities where I live and work at San Bernardino Valley College. But what I wanted to say, this is thanks also to our AQMD partners, is I'm in process of working with Julie, Alicia, Jeanette, and several of our South Coast AQMD partners on some upcoming virtual presentations to our campus and our community. So stay tuned. I'm hoping that when we have our quarterly meeting in June, I can report that we had a spring semester virtual meeting, really with a focus on our students, but faculty, staff, administrators, community members will be invited to talk about environmental justice matters, where AQMD fits in all of this, as well as some of our other community partners. And then I'm going to see if we can also work on, I don't want to overburden everybody, but perhaps maybe a smaller summer online presentation, and then something for the fall as well. So stay tuned, and I want to thank you all as well for assisting me with these endeavors and all of your great input, all the things that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Actually, I thought I had an update on the student bus tour /webinar, but I didn't. But just a quick update for you all. We are working with San Bernardino Valley College, thanks to Todd. We're considering putting together air quality EJ type of presentation concerning the San Bernardino region, and then taking Q&A from the students. So that's in the works, thanks to Todd, but as soon as we have information on that, we'll send it to you all. And Paula?
Yeah, thank you so much for all of the in-depth presentations today, and for Nicole's presentation. That was really awesome to learn about all the work in the IE. And in terms of a quick announcement for member updates, I wanted to mention that South Central Los Angeles was selected as an 8617 community last week, as approved by the California Resources Board. So given that Decisions for Social Responsibility Los Angeles is a grantee for the second year of 86.7, we're going to be hosting a few trainings in regards to air quality engagement in South LA and related to the South Coast, as we want to build the policy muscle for community members to better understand how to make their voices heard through AB 617. So we're looking to continue partnering with AQMD to bring in more resources and trainings to community members so they're more equipped to participate in these spaces. And yeah, so I guess that's what I wanted to announce. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Paula. If you have the any details on that, just send it my way and I can share it with the advisory council before that meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. Okay, next we're going to move to, seeing no other hands raised, I am going to move to other business. So if anyone has any other comments or topics they want to bring up, now would be the time, and I'll move it to Oscar.
All righty. Thank you, Alicia and Julie. Actually, Alicia and Julie, thank you, and all AQMD staff. I know I've been sending some emails regarding a concern that was brought up to my attention out here in Orange County, specifically in the Logan neighborhood in Santa Ana. You know, we know that due to COVID, we've had increase in crematoriums, Orange County, San Bernardino County, and LA County. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, and we know that like Anaheim and Santa Ana have been heaviest hit. It's no secret. And now recently with the vaccine, we've also noticed that Anaheim and Santa Ana have been heaviest hit by creating roadblocks to access to vaccine. And so we've, a lot of leaders like Ada and folks out here have been doing a great job of making sure that we communicate that to our local healthcare agency. But one thing that I did want to bring up was that there's been increase in crematoriums, and so I wanted to see if we could have an update from staff in terms of the negative health effects that may bring to our local communities here. I was looking at where these crematoriums are located, and this is just specifically in Orange County, just because that's where based out of. I live in Huntington Beach, so I realized that actually Santa Ana and Anaheim have the highest amount of crematoriums in a local area, and they're also including South County. So I wanted to see how that affects our local communities, especially where they're located. Are they located to lower income neighborhoods? And seeing if there's any reports on that, that would really help us making sure that we advocate and make some policy changes if need be, if necessary. I don't know if anybody else has any comments or recommendations as well.
Thank you, Oscar. We will definitely reach out and see if someone can present information on the emergency order for crematoriums at the next meeting. Absolutely.
Thank you, Alicia. I appreciate it.
Okay, and then I'm going to move to, oh, wait, I saw Ada's hand go up.
Thank you. I just, Alicia and Oscar, thank you, Oscar, for bringing that up. That is such a crucial issue. Do you think, Alicia, that you can try to figure out that question before the next meeting? Because obviously our communities are living that as we speak. And maybe if we can get that information prior to the next meeting?
Yeah, so I will see if I can connect with the staff member that has information on it and they could provide some data. Then you can work in the background and then we'll get a presentation at the next meeting. Does that work? Okay, so I'll connect actually both of you to someone, or Julie will. I'll make sure that you're connected with someone. Thank you for that. And then next I'm going to move to Harvey.
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes, you have 3 minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
I'm outside now, so there's a little background noise. I'm sorry. I'm Harvey Eder. I'm speaking for myself and for Public School Power Coalition. I'd like to, say kudos to the fellow that just talked about the problem of putting this stuff in the air with crematoria. That's pretty important. And also, I think there's preventive stuff that could have been done with pneumonia vaccines. P23 and P13 have been out for decades and used mostly for older people. 4 million people die each year from pneumonia. 90% of the virus that people die have pneumonia. Okay, of the lungs. Okay, so I had pneumonia right here in LA when I was 9 years old with pleurisy. They had to drain, out of my back, my lungs. And then I had it again when I was 18, okay, from the air pollution and stuff, right? The air was really bad back there. I was talking about the 50s and the 60s, all right? So I went, when the pandemic came, and I had this vaccine, and it could be used as preventive. I hadn't heard. I tried to call CDC and FDA, and for the last year, I've been doing this dance and trying to do studies on this to see. Anyway, the benefits, no adverse effects anyway. So that's important, and I think especially minority communities of color don't get this.
You have a minute and 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you. So that's important, and we're looking into trying to coordinate this with different type of sites for delivering it. And for people that don't know, I know, like, I've been checking this. Walmart's, like in Walgreens in Santa Monica, they got vaccines now. If you're over 65, I heard they might have loaded it to 60. Anyway, for those that are interested and that's around. Also, I want to make a comment, like, back to what that 80% of NOx comes from vehicles, okay, and that we don't regulate it. That's not true. We regulate. We regulate. What do you call them? Over 5 or over 15. What do you call them? Anyway, groups owned by businesses and public entities, and that's about 10-20% of all emissions. And that can be changed under federal law. Look in the case law, and now with our administration in power in DC, we got to push this. The district's got to push it. You got to push it through to your organization, for different political and staff organizations, whatnot. It's got to be done now, along with getting refundable tax credits for solar that do apply to the vehicles as well. The trucks and the buses, they are, in fact, if they have 100% solar, they are solar vehicles, and the credit could be taken for them as well. And it has to be done with equity, and then in with housing. We've been contacting with the homeless. They have.
Thank you, Harvey, for your update. Next, I'm going to move to Moses.
Thank you, Lisa. I'll make this quick, just to follow up on the comment regarding the crematorium as far as information. If would it be possible to also add in the, I know we have multiple monitors through the whole basin, and I know some of the readings have been put on pause due to the COVID. If that data can be shared of the, what we've missed or impact or what has been going on with that, I think would be useful. I can give you in a point here last night in the city council meeting here in the city of Paramount, quite a bit of the community came out speaking about the monitors not being updated and the data that's being published. So that created a bit of a concern. So I just wanted to share that with you, and then possibly adding into the meeting and to build off of the other comment that Oscar made. Also on the newsletter, where who to call, Lisa, I know you mentioned in the previous meetings, is that, I don't know if I caught it, but is that already on the website, or it's still being worked on internally, not ready to be shared? If you can update that, I would really appreciate. To Ms. Briceño, I wanted also just to share with you, I'm a former member of Unite Here 11. I was a proud member for over 10 years, and I really appreciate your hard work and engagement and being out there. I just want to thank you again for your hard work. And thank you all again. I yield my time.
Thank you, Moses. And yes, I want to confirm the Who to Call guide is on our website. So we'll make sure that your name is on the interested parties list for the advisory council when we're sending out those updates, so you can receive them. So thank you all for your participation today. It was wonderful to hear from all of you. Thank you for your participation and your time. I know it's super valuable. Our next meeting is on Wednesday, June 2nd, and just want to let you all know, if you want to reach me for any any reason, feel free to email me, or Jeanette or Julian will be happy to help you with any concerns. So we hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Great to see everyone.
Nice to see you all.